Hello and welcome to our webinar today. I'm Jacob Finlay, CEO and co-founder of FullBay, and I'm here with Chris O'Brien. Hey, Chris, our COO.
Good morning, good afternoon.
And we have a special guest with us, Troy Willock, the CEO and co-founder of TDI Fleet. Hey, Troy.
Hey, everybody.
Great to have you. So our topic today is still trucking, managing your repair shop during challenging times. And these are unprecedented times, obviously, and we want to speak specifically to how it impacts repair shops and what you can do to manage through this. And before we get there, just some housekeeping. Inside this webinar, there is a chat button at the bottom of the screen. You can chat us. You can also click on Q&A here to ask us a question. And we'll do our best to get to all the questions at the end and may even get some in line. So don't hesitate to ask a question there. And to kind of practice that, if you could, in the chat function, click on there and tell us where you are calling in from. Let's make sure that that is working. Okay, we see some coming in now. Colorado, Florida, Texas, Oregon, Canada, Wyoming, Arizona, lots, El Centro, nice. Florida, North Carolina, Arkansas. Awesome.
Your house. That's an interesting one. Your house. No.
That might be my wife calling in. Awesome. Looking good. All right. So once again, feel free to chat us or put a question into the Q&A down there at the bottom, and we will get to all this stuff. Yeah, Canada's Alberta. How about that? I'm sure lots coming in from Red Deer, that area.
There's Keith.
All right. So just getting into this, what we're going to be covering here, four main things. So first of all, the impact a time like this has on repair shops. We're going to speak to the stimulus bill, which we've all heard about. We're going to go into some particulars on how to apply for that. And then some tips on how to keep your technicians safe and healthy, because you want them safe and healthy for personal reasons. And also you want to keep your business running. And then tips to keep your shop efficient and profitable during times like this. And then we'll get to the Q&A. So let's dive in.
Let's go.
First of all, impact to the repair shops. We want to launch a polling question here to just kind of gauge what you guys are seeing here. So are you seeing, you should see this popping up on your screen. Are you seeing a difference in your shop sales right now? Are you busier? Are things the same? Are you slower? What is this looking like for you guys? Send this through here while we wait for the responses to come in. What we've seen is that it kind of depends on the industries that you serve, right, Chris?
Yeah, exactly. Seeing a lot of uptick in the food distribution, certain portions of supply chain, and obviously in restaurant a little bit down with all these restaurant closures.
So what we're seeing here, I can share the results here, is that 80% of you are seeing things are slower. About 10% are the same, and a little bit less than that are saying that we're busier. So for the most part, we're seeing a slowdown in work here. All right, thank you for that. So let's talk about that. Let's dig in. So on the impact to repair shops, first of all, before we get there, some resources that you can stay up to date on what's happening, because things seem to be changing, day to day and then week to week, is definitely be in touch with your local Department of Health, state, county Department of Health, and understand what's going on there. Troy, you guys are doing this, right? Where you're at in the Dallas-Fort Worth area?
Yeah, we are. We every day or every few days, we look at the counties that our facilities are located in, and some of the surrounding counties that are larger, to just make sure we're ahead of up and coming restrictions or rules, or just on infection rates, just to see how we're doing as a county. So just so we can evolve what our actions are going to be. That's, for us, that's been the best source of information.
For other industry-wide updates, there's the American Trucking Association. They have a webinar every week giving an update on the industry. There's some other resources: FreightWaves, Heavy Duty Trucking, TPS Daily. So Troy, going back to you on this, what are you guys seeing in terms of the impact? Are things slower, different? What are you guys seeing where you're at?
Well, I think for us, we're kind of in between of the same and slowing down. And I was talking with our other owner, my partner, and this morning, and we're not sure if we can attribute some of the slowness of our industry just to the COVID virus, but we know it has an effect, because when the stay-at-home order happened down here for us, we saw about a 20% drop. But then after about 2 weeks, that picked back up, and talking with some of our customers, the restaurant supply customers in particular, they had about a 2-week curve where they adapted, and their customers, the restaurants themselves, were kind of adapting to a new way of doing business. So, for us, we're kind of in between there, because we were already seeing things a little slower than the previous year of the same quarter. So, we don't fully attribute it to COVID, but we definitely know there is impact there.
What are some of the, so obviously restaurant supply, food supply, they're using all available equipment. I guess from an industry standpoint, I know you guys have customers that cross several industries. Which ones are seeing more work? Which ones are really slowing down?
For us, it's the infrastructure customers that we've even picked up accounts with companies that build road or soil stabilization, construction type. So for us, it's the infrastructure type supply businesses, concrete, aggregate, haulers, companies like that. We've actually seen an increase in business, and also with municipalities. It seems like we're doing a little more with the cities and the counties with those. So those sectors seem to be doing pretty good, if not increases. So,
Troy, is there a specific type of repair that you're seeing? Is it just general maintenance, preventative maintenance? Is there a certain type of repair that's a consistent theme right now that is more prevalent than others?
I think the drive-up work is seems to be what is, things that are broke where the customer is just bringing it directly to us. But I have not seen any drop-offs in our PMs. We're still doing our PMs and inspections. We haven't had any customers that have cut off any spending in those areas. Now we do have customers, especially the food distributors, that they're going wide open and I'm watching their money too. And we have been told, if it's cosmetic or not mission essential, that they don't want to do that. They want to put that in waiting on a holding pattern to do later.
But no one's turning down PM work, anything that's going to keep the equipment running.
Yeah, not for us. But we've built our cornerstone is built on those PMs. And so we've taught our customers how important those are. So I feel like, that they see the importance in it as well, because that's always been the cornerstone of what we do.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of shops, they don't see that. You have some anchor customers and you get those PMs started, and they'll help you get through like a time like this, or even just a lull. They're also, having large fleets, it's a plethora of work, right? Anytime that there's downtime, or it definitely can feed the shop in slow times or in this particular time. It's great to see you're leveraging the PMs.
So thanks, Troy. Thanks for that. So you guys are seeing, so even so far, but maybe slowing down a little bit, some types of work, they don't want to do cosmetic. And then of course, with the polling results, we're seeing like overall, there's a slowdown. That might be a good segue to go into the stimulus bill. So this was passed by Congress recently. There's a few iterations of it. We're referring to it here as the CARES Act. But just want to give kind of a high level of what this is and launch another polling question here to see if you guys are familiar with this bill. Yes, no, or maybe kind of. It is 1,000 pages long, so it's possible no one's read it. But it's the country we live in, referring to the United States. I'm sure in Canada they read all the bills. So for our Canadian attendees, I apologize. This next section will be U.S. specific, but we'll get to some practical recommendations here.
I wonder if what's Canada doing? I wonder if the guys from Canada can tell us what Canada's doing. I have no idea.
I'm sure they have it figured out. Yeah, we need to get on that.
That's a good point. I don't know that there's any stimulus package outside of the U.S. Or it's not publicized or socialized. But let's see, Keith's on here. He's sitting in the corner crying softly, loving it. So basically, we can translate that to not a whole lot. They are not giving $2.2 trillion to the public.
So we're seeing from the results, the majority of you are familiar with the stimulus bill. Maybe 1 in 5 no, and the rest, maybe 30%, kind of. So let's launch into this and see what it is. So from a high level, this stimulus bill, what is this thing anyway? Well, it's Chris, you want to speak to that one? The idea here is to help businesses kind of bridge the gap on payroll and rent, right?
Yeah, I help to keep the shop afloat, right? The last thing we want to do is have everybody laid off, right? And so the idea is to keep economy going, keep mouths feed, keep roofs over our head. And I think what's also interesting with the stimulus bill is it's not necessarily telling you how to manage your shop, but it is shedding a light on a particular area where, just your shop financials in general.
Yeah. So it can help you in that way. Paycheck protection program, that's the concept, right? There's a couple different approaches here. One is you can go down to a bank and apply for an SBA loan, get in line. We'll talk about that in a minute. That can help you get money that could potentially be forgiven. It's in the form of a loan, but a portion of this can be forgiven if it's used for things like payroll, rent, things that are impacted by the coronavirus, essentially. Sure. So we're going to get into this. How much is the loan? How long does it last? What does it cover? How to apply an issue? So what is the stimulus package? It's a $2 trillion stimulus bill, and it includes funds for expanded unemployment benefits, loans for certain industries that are hard hit. And then there's also an individual component where there's checks sent directly to individuals and families. And to kind of apply this to a shop, $350 billion of this was allocated to the Small Business Administration for dispersing among businesses. And this would include shops through the PPP, the Paycheck Protection Program. And that's essentially a loan that is forgivable. It's up to 2.5 times the amount of your monthly payroll with a cap. And the loan will last for 8 weeks. Once again, it's meant to bridge the gap because essentially you're running a business, you have certain fixed costs that are going to hit no matter what. You have to pay rent. You have employees, you have to pay them, right? Yeah. And there might be a mismatch between these fixed expenses and the level of business coming into the shop.
Yeah, and we've also got an update from Keith out of Canada. The plan in Canada is they'll pay 75% of the wages. They also have 40,000 loan program, deferred payments of taxes, payroll taxes, and their bill is running about 82 billion compared to the US $2 trillion. Thanks,
Keith. So that's the Paycheck Protection Program. If you want to apply for it, you can apply right now. And about 50%, more than 50% of funds appropriated have been claimed, and there are ongoing discussions to add additional funds to this. So you go to your local bank, and that's it, right, Troy? You just go apply, and it shows up the next business day? Or how does that typically work? What did you guys see?
Well, not for us, it didn't. We've been very proactive throughout this whole process. So weeks before, when the president and Congress were talking about doing this, I was immediately contacting our bank, which we have, a good, strong relationship with. And then the day we could apply, I think it was like midnight on a Thursday, you could apply. We applied that Friday morning, and we were, if not the first, one of the very first companies in Fort Worth with our bank, with Frost Bank, to apply. And we know by Sunday evening, there were over 8,800 applications. Wow. So, we were worried, they would run out of funds. We were worried that some of the original criteria were you had to have um, a, a lot of impact to your business from COVID. And now it's just, they changed that wording to your business needs to be impacted by COVID. So we recently found out that we did get approved, but this almost been 2 weeks. So, but the funding has been earmarked for our company, but the fund's not released because the banks, none of the banks that I'm aware of in the whole country have the proper verbiage for the loan contracts, which lay out the rules on how you're allowed to use the money, what qualifies it to be forgiven, and any kind of documentation you have to supply, even down to our bank doesn't even know if we're going to get it into an account as a lump sum or if it's going to be doled out over a period of time. Yeah. So we're still waiting. We know we got approved, but we're still waiting for that payroll protection program money.
And you mentioned Frost Bank, relatively small bank, right? And that
it is, yeah. It's I think it's a Texas only bank. They may be in other places, but I know it's a local Texas bank. But there again, you apply through your bank, but it's still an SBA. The payroll protection program still goes through the SBA approval process. So, and I think weeks before that, we applied for the SBA disaster relief loan, and we're still waiting on that. I think they said it could be several months to hear about that one.
So, Troy, how do you get through these times? So you've applied for these loans and you're running your business and you're trying to keep everything afloat. How do you manage all of this? And what if the money doesn't come? What is the backup plan here? What's the reality?
That was that's a big fear of ours. And so when all this started and we were concerned about quarantining and, when all this COVID started, we weren't sure how extreme we were going to get hit. We were watching what was going on in New York and then down in Louisiana. So we looked at the money we had in savings and, we had set back quite a bit of money for whatever reason. And, but we realized, we're not week to week or even maybe month to month, but we knew we couldn't sustain 100% of our payroll without working. If we weren't working and having any level of production, we really only had, maybe 3 weeks of payroll to pay everybody at 100% of what they're currently earning. So our plan was to try not to have everybody sick at one time. That way, if we staggered out how the people in our company, if we got infected and had to be quarantined.
Oh, I think we lost Troy there for a second here, but Chris,
and hoping that we get that payroll protection.
Oh, hey Troy,
am I there?
Yeah, we missed you there for a minute.
Oh, but I apologize. I am at the house here.
Yeah, no problem. Basically looking at your savings, like how much can we bridge the gap? But at some point we need to, for the good of everybody, we need to figure out a way to keep this thing. We got to stay in business long term. And
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, I know that, the way I was raised was and it doesn't apply. I don't know that everybody can do this, but, just from early days, my parents always said, hey, always keep 3 months on hand, to cover my salary in case I get hurt or something like that. And it feels like a lot of that transfers over to businesses. We run into some businesses that are running, check to check, and some businesses that are actually running and they're reserving money for that rainy day, and they've got the stockpile of cash. It sounds like that's maybe the method you guys are using over there with your company, where you've got cash bullpenned in for a rainy day for whatever event, if you're going to do an expenditure or expansion. Does this make you reevaluate how you manage your cash, and were you managing your cash differently before this, and how will you manage it moving forward?
Well, it did. And, you always, I think most business owners, we try to save and put back as much money as possible. And then, things happen, vehicles need to be replaced, I think everybody's trying to grow and expand at a certain pace. And so you try to balance saving and borrowing money. But, uh, we're, we're pretty good where we have saved enough money that we can pay out, we can cover payroll, but we certainly couldn't cover all the payroll. And it absolutely made us take a real hard look at the cash and what would we do if we didn't qualify for these loans, or if we weren't unable to use them in the way that would help us or get those forgiven, because we really don't want to borrow the money from the government. We want to have that money to use that's forgiven, and we don't want to turn that into a loan. So we just wanted not, we didn't need everybody sick at one time. And so we were just trying to stress on how to stay healthy. And if we did get sick, how well could we stagger that? And we did make a plan if we did all get sick and we had to close, where, we would be able to pay everybody $200, $250 a week to keep food on their tables until we were able to go back to work. And we knew we had enough money that we could do that over a 2 to 3 month period.
Worst case scenario.
Worst case.
Worst case, yeah. Just, nobody's doing anything. Yeah.
That's probably a good segue here, because, not all shops have cash in the bank, right? Savings, maybe they are going week to week, month to month, and so forth. So you got to keep this thing going. And the last thing you want is the money makers, the ones who are turning wrenches and so forth. You don't want them to get sick. So for the business that you do have, you want to make sure that everybody's healthy, because it's one thing to be nimble and respond to the world that's around you and get creative about how you can bring work into the shop. But if the shop itself is sick, then you're doubly affected by this, right? It's a double whammy essentially. So what can you do? What are practical things for a repair shop? What can you do to protect your technicians and yourself and the other staff? So just launching a question here. Bear with me here. So are you, as a shop, are you taking extra precautions in your shop currently to mitigate this, to protect people from getting infected, and not only you, but your customers, your technicians, and the results are flowing in, and they are all yes, Chris?
Yeah, well, this is going. I thought it was interesting too, Troy. It sounds like I love what you said. Not everybody getting sick. It's like a disaster recovery plan. You and your partner running the shop have to keep separated. It sounds like, so that if one of you goes down, the other can keep the place running. Is that what like as you're keeping people separate? Is that kind of the mindset that you're going through? Is really looking at from leadership all the way down to technicians?
Absolutely. Yeah. We have 3 shops. We have 2 physical locations, and then we have the mobile shops. And so we had a succession plan. So if shop managers or supervisors, service riders, whatever you want to call them, if they get sick, who's going to step in and cover? And so, our first look was we pulled all the high risk employees out, and I think I had 1 parts, 1 mechanic, and then 1 office lady. They were all in the high risk group, and we put them at home. And then we made a rule, 1 person per office. So if sales or service people need in the building, they have to schedule with each other to, so there's only 1 person in each room. And then, just like you said, Chris, Steve and myself, and 2 of the other managers, our sales and marketing manager, we all stay home and away from each other. And we are the backups. So if someone in operations gets sick or in anywhere, we can step in and run that department for the person that's sick while they're out.
Nice.
So some basic recommendations. Nice lizard washing his hands. It's a good example. You want to minimize your contact with customers. And Troy, you mentioned some way you guys are doing that, right? You're not allowing customers to come into the door.
Yeah, we don't let customers or vendors inside our buildings. And what we ended up doing was we placed a sign on the door, with the county COVID-19 warning, and also that, when the instructions, knock on the door and then step back. And we also placed a cone about 10 or 15 feet away, and then step back to the cone. And then we come to the door and we do our business. We discuss what the customer's needs are, or get the parts from the vendor. And that seemed to work. At first, several weeks ago, we got a little pushback and people weren't taking it serious. But I was at the shops yesterday, and everybody absolutely is doing that social distancing, and I think they appreciate it. I think they appreciate having that clear boundary set, and everybody knows where they need to be to safely have a transaction.
That's nice. Super honorable. It looks like everybody, just to follow back up with the polling question, 96% of the folks are taking precautions. It's really interesting to see the precautions you're taking, Troy, the way that customer engagement, all the way through organizing the workflow to where you have succession planning. Truly amazing. I imagine being able to log in and view the shop remote with the software. You literally don't have to be at the shop to run the business. You can do it from your house or from a truck. Is that helping you or enabling you to, compared to what maybe you used to use 10 years ago or in prior?
Absolutely. I don't even see how we could do it if we, prior to Full Bay, we were kind of on a paper system with our accounting software. And, there was a lot of interaction, and a lot of paper handling. And we can, if my supervisor needs to work from home, he can. We still need people, there to have that exchange between the customer and the technician, because we don't need the techs dealing directly with every customer that comes in.
Right.
But for me, especially, I've really discovered, even for years we used Full Bay, I would go to the office, and I felt like I had to be there. And then when we enacted this policy, of succession and what, who absolutely needs to stay healthy, I realized that I can absolutely do everything from home. Unless we're doing special projects where we're working on a trailer together doing modifications. But 90% of my leadership and direction can happen remotely, and I can see what everybody's doing. So I don't know how anybody could do it without this kind of software.
Built for social distancing, basically. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Fortuitous for sure. So also, remember, clean and disinfect your high traffic places, right? Cut down on stand-ups, disinfect vehicles before you get into them. Troy, you shared an interesting anecdote about one of your customers, about what they're doing with the vehicles.
Yeah. So we have a local food and a restaurant distributor, and they travel kind of super regional, local and super regional. And I was talking to their fleet manager, asking him what they do, and he said they have completely stopped split seating trucks. That they keep one driver per truck. Each driver is equipped with an FDA grade sanitizer spray, and throughout the day they spray the floor mats. They even are spraying their boots and all the contact areas of the cab. At the end of the day, they do it again when they exit the vehicle. And he said then their night guy that shuttles trucks and moves trailers around on their dock, he also is doing that to the trucks. So, and then they've got trucks that go out of state, and in particular, the ones that go to New Orleans, they call those the hot zone trucks. And he said they've been quarantining those tractors. So the guy will come back from New Orleans, he'll drop his trailer, they'll wash that, he'll take the truck to a remote yard and park it, sanitize it himself, but nobody else in the company has contact with that particular vehicle.
Yeah, interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, the blocking and tackling. What about morale in the shop? If certain people, maybe a spouse is working at home now or needs to be out on the road, or is a clinician and needs to go work in a hospital, what kind of flexibility are you guys seeing there in terms of adjusting hours, keeping food around so people don't have to leave the premises to go find food, et cetera, et cetera? What are you guys seeing around that, Troy?
Well, for us at TDI, we've always been very family-centric company. So we're very flexible. Most of our techs are full commission. So we've always been real flexible, but even more so, we encourage the employees to stay home if they're sick. We offered to take food to their house. We had one employee, his wife works at the airport here locally, and she got sick, and so we sent him home and told him to quarantine with her. I think it took a week to find out she didn't have COVID, but she was still sick, and we allowed him, made it real easy for him to stay home and care for her another week, which gave us him being quarantined for 2 full weeks before he came back to work, and we paid him. So, I think the employee knowing that they're going to get paid will allow them to make better decisions about coming to work sick. Because most people are going to come to work even if they're sick, and because they need the money. Most guys are paycheck to paycheck. So we wanted to, in order for us to stay healthy, make it really easy for them to go, you know what, I am sick and I can stay home. So, and then those high risk employees we take care packages to them. We bundle up food and drive it over and leave it on their front door, just like family.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's definitely very respectable. I heard you earlier too mention that you had somebody, an old timer that you proactively sent home. Is that one of the guys that you would have also that's on the payroll still, just keeping it going? It just was a high risk individual that you kept on payroll and.
He's probably in his late 60s and a lifetime smoker. He was actually one of our first employees ever. So he's been working for us for about 25 years. And, we told, I was like, man, if you get this, it's going to be hard for you, the pneumonia, whatever subsequent things will happen to you. So he's been home for 3 weeks, and, he's valuable to us, and he's given us the better part of his life. So we want to make sure we're there for him, and he's safe and quarantining. So he goes home and he gets his check every week, and I think it's a good investment for us.
That is just awesome. The power of morale and what you're doing is extremely honorable, Troy. Very respectable.
Yeah, definitely. So in terms of shop operations, how do we want to help each other out and so forth, but at the end of the day, we are running a for-profit entity. I'm sure very few of us are running a .org charitable operation. We need to keep the shop efficient and profitable to be able to sustain the kind of activities that we're talking about. We got to figure out a way. And oftentimes necessity is the mother of invention, right? It can help us figure things out and a better way to do things. Just kind of hitting the basics here, don't forget, examine, are you marking up your parts correctly? Are you playing the martyr on that side? Make sure that you are figuring out the margin you need to make on parts and backing into a markup that's appropriate, right? And Troy, you've taught me a lot about that. You guys firmly believe in this, right? It's okay to profit on parts, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, parts make up 50% of what we do. And, we don't shortchange it. Our parts aren't cheap, but when you consider all the steps and everything you go through to get that part and provide it to the customer, it has value in it, So we've always, we have a strong margin on our parts, a very good markup. And we've seen you get the occasional customer that doesn't like it, or I can buy this cheaper. And, we'll work with that customer. And if we want that customer's business enough, we let them buy the parts. If you can buy it better, we'll let you buy the parts.
But that's the exception.
A very few exceptions. Yeah, just
exceptional.
very few exceptions. Yeah.
Invest in your future, right? Obviously now may not be the time where you can start shelling away into savings, but this will end. And, those shops that think through, what are we going to do to prevent this from happening, or to help us be strong to get through this in the future. I think, to your point, Troy, what you mentioned is you seem to be methodically, in good times, setting aside money into a kind of a business savings plan.
Yeah, yeah, and we've always have. We've always we actually use a savings money market, and we have for years, and we pay that savings every week. Every week, when we cut payroll, we pay ourselves. We pay the company, and I think right now is a great time to invest in your future. With the SBA disaster loan, that is a great loan. It's a great loan product. I think the interest rate's going to be 0 for 10 years. So if anybody was thinking of growing, that's a good time to do it. I guess leave no great, what is that? The politicians always say, no emergency, don't not take advantage of it. I think this is the time.
Don't let it go to waste.
Right. Yeah, this is a good time to find your strong customers, your strong vendors. Have a good relationship with your bank, and we poll our customers daily to see how they're doing. We tell them about the stimulus package. We want everybody to take advantage.
You want your customers to stay in business too. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. If it's good for them, it's good for you. Absolutely.
What about how practical do you think it is in a time like this to be setting up a PM program? Maybe a shop is not doing this and they're hearing you say, hey, look, this is part of what is sustaining us, and kind of evening out some of the valleys in our sales. Is that doable right now? What are your thoughts on that? Setting up?
I think it is. I think a lot of trucking companies are under a lot of stress right now because they're having problems with employees being sick, more demand on whatever it is they're shipping. And I think they do want to talk to people about having less problems with their fleet. And the only way to alleviate those problems is a good, solid preventive maintenance program that you can track easily, present to the customer easily. Full Bay has great graphs, the pie chart. It's really good for the customer to view, and for a manager to skim over it quickly, or for a lower level guy in fleet maintenance to look at individual lines on what's coming up and what you can plan for. It's been a great tool for us during this time, and in regular times. It's always been our fallback. It's always how we get onto a fleet yard and find additional work. And if it's always put the customer first, it's always going to pay back to you.
No, Troy, a lot of folks that we've heard will say, but I don't have enough real estate in my yard, or I don't have enough bays to do PMs. Is that the only way that you do PMs, or are you doing a lot of these? I heard you say yard or going to their yard. Is that how you're facilitating the PMs with the mobile service?
Most of what we do is mobile. We run 18 mobile trucks, and our mobile fleet, we've actually seen an increase in business with our mobile fleet during this time. Maybe it's because fleets don't have enough people to drive to bring the equipment to us. But I would say 75% of truck or trailer PMs are done on site.
And they're just with a tablet, processing the orders, looking up the fleet, finding what's due, and just processing the work right on the spot.
Yeah, we use Full Base PM tracking, the part of that software. And how we do it is we'll send the PM report every month to the customer so they can see it. They like looking at the graph, and then we'll generate either have Full Bay do it automatically, or we'll generate the sales orders and push those to get approved. Especially on the accounts that we don't have blanket approval to do them. Most of most of our accounts, we have blanket approval. When the PMs do, we are allowed to do it. But the shops that really manage their PMs and they want to give us a yes or no, we generate those service requests to do that PM, and then if they're not approved, within a day or two, then we're calling and contacting that shop to get those done. And it's very seldom that fleet says we don't want to do the PM.
Yeah. And what about are you guys seeing, going into things that customers have declined in the past? We call them pending repairs in full bay. Are you guys doing anything with that to kind of find work when things are slow?
Absolutely. It's kind of become our go-to for kind of inside sales for the service managers and the shop supervisors. If they see that we're gonna run out of work in 3 days or so, they'll start picking through those pending repairs and either kicking that over to the sales department and go, hey, look, let's contact these guys about these pending repairs, or contact themselves and just discuss it with the customer and try to get that scheduled, and stress the importance of doing that pending repair. So it's been kind of like a honey hole for fishing for us. And we use it, I watch it to see, if pending repairs gets large, then I step in and it's like, hey, who's talking to these customers? So, and I, there again, I can do it right here from the house. So, it's been we love the pending repair. It's CYA. It covers us if the customer doesn't want to do it. And then it stays there for us it's a talking point. It's another reason to talk to the customer.
Yeah, for sure. And for those of you who don't know, if you're using full bay PMs, pending repairs, all the stuff that's on the service tab on the left side, you can see all the things that you found on a truck that a customer may have declined, and then you can generate service orders out of that, send to the customer for authorization and so forth.
Yeah, I think it's a great, a lot of times when we're doing training or onboarding, we'll go through some of these things. And Troy, it's like, it's years ago since you've been through a lot of that stuff, but there's those things that you've mentioned several things, the honey hole, and that is exactly what that's meant to do. And for your service managers or service writers to be like sales reps, that is a great opportunity. It's awesome to hear and refreshing to hear someone like yourself using those tools to generate business. And no surprise, during this downturn, you're still doing well. You haven't had to start dipping in and going into the red on your money because you're keeping everybody working and you're leveraging those tools. That's the way to do it. Good PM programs and have those service writers upselling or running those pending reports.
Yeah.
Very smart.
Mm-hmm.
So at the end of the day, we're all in this together. We want all the shops using full bay to succeed and prosper and get through this difficult time. And so just to kind of recap it, so the impact that we're seeing on shops, what the stimulus bill go and apply for it. Things will continue moving. More likely than not, there will be more funds allocated to that, especially as this thing goes on and on. And follow these tips to keep your techs well and to keep your truck shop going. We do have an ebook. We'll send it out with the webinar replay, how to run a repair shop in challenging times, that kind of recaps these ideas. So look for that in the email when that comes out, most likely today. And that email will contain a recording of this webinar so you can review it, share it with others, and so forth. And then just kind of getting to the Q&A here. Let me run through these questions. Here's one from Mike. We bought our business in August and did not have diesel repair experience before, or diesel trucking. What industry information should we be paying attention to? Lobbying, industry, trade? Not sure we're tied into to the industry enough. I would definitely tie in with the American Trucking Associations. This is a national level group. It is actually an aggregation of all these state trucking associations, and they do lobbying on behalf of the industry very successfully, actually. So they're based in the DC area. They have greatly been influencing a lot of this. They helped get things like hours of service rules waived during this time. It's amazing the regulations that can be waived when necessary. But definitely tie in with the ATA, and that's a pretty good way to go.
Yeah, that's by far the most trustworthy.
Another one, have you found any new types of business to help folks during this time? Anything that can help, but also be new revenue? So we talked about PMs going for pending repairs. I'd say the biggest one, Troy, the biggest one's probably PMs. Can you think of anything else you would recommend for a shop that's looking for new lines of work to put their people to work doing?
We always look at that. And, the other day, you and I were talking, and disinfecting trucks is, there's no real surefire way to be 100%, but I'm certain, we're going to offer that to our customers. I'm certain there's a service there for that. And, we reach out to our customers and just, and ask them, what do they need? What's their problem? Are they having any kind of problems? And then we listen, and then we see if there's anything, that we could do from our experience being in the industry, or, even down to hiring drivers. That's a big pain for trucking companies. And a lot of times it comes down to driver comfort. And then you get a lot of cab work and just kind of cosmetic work inside the truck, just, and that helps driver retention. So a lot of times you just ask your customer what their needs are, and then troubleshoot that need, just like something wrong with the truck or the trailer, and see what's causing it, and then offer solutions, and is often an inroad, to more work with them.
Another thing too, Troy, a few years ago, I know you had a smaller number of mobile techs, and we've always heard in the industry, we've had some organizations say you can't monetize or profitize the mobile industry, and you have to have a brick and mortar to make this thing work. And just time and time again, especially when you have software that you can deploy in the field and invoice right on the side of the road, it's refreshing to hear you have 18 mobile techs out there. And I think that's an area, if you're, just one recommendation, if you're a shop owner that hasn't explored mobile technician or mobile work because that paper flow process, this might be an opportunity to get into the mobile side. Because I know, Troy, you didn't have 18 for even 4 years ago.
No, but we started with the mobile service, and that's how we started the company. And it is by far the strongest performing department we have. And it is good to have brick and mortar to support the mobile service. But I would say if I had to start a fleet repair service, heavy duty service, I'd start with the mobile. And that's where I would. It's overhead's much cheaper. You're faster responding, and you really can't have a repair shop without a truck anyway. So, you're going to need that truck. So we always look to expand our mobile service. Pound for pound, it makes the most money.
And I love the idea you brought up, Troy, potentially disinfecting trucks as a service, as an additional add-on service. So you heard it here first, folks. Just don't go into the DFW area, because Troy's got that one.
Well, the only other thing with too is, a lot of times you go straight for the repair. Now, I'm not saying that, well, one of the things that's interesting is the diagnosis. When you're doing the diag phase and going through a basic inspection, like donating 15 minutes to just do a safety inspection. I see a lot of shops, they just do hey, there's a mud flap missing. Well, if you walk around the truck, you're bound to find a marker light out. You're going to find something else. And the folks are saying, well, if I'm not getting paid, I'm not going to donate 15 minutes to find, $1,000 worth of work. But if you're not doing, diagnosis work or a 15-minute walk around on every job, you're just letting money go to the next shop down the road.
Yeah. And I believe you should charge for diag in all cases, Chris and I.
Yeah, we do charge for it. Yeah, we do. And it's really not even negotiable. It's a safety check we do on all equipment. With Full Bay, we build it in to every ticket, and we charge for it. And we have had zero complaints. We have zero complaints about it. Now, if I work on your truck today and then it comes back in 2 days, I'm not going to do that again. But every piece of equipment, it doesn't matter. The only things that are exempt for that inspection is our inspections and PMs, because that's what we're doing. But if you came in for a mud flap, you're going to get a 15-point check. And it covers us. because if you put a mud flap on a truck and there was some glaring safety issue, axle leaking or something, you are a professional technician, and you not kind of liable for not looking at that? And I think customers kind of expect that professional opinion,
Yeah.
of their equipment.
Yep. When I was a private fleet, we'd have a truck with $40,000 worth of groceries on it. We're going to send it 6 hours away or even 8 hours away. We'd have a repair. They would do the repair, and there would be like a marker light out. It's like, well, the truck was just there, and then they fix the marker light, and then you'd have another issue. And I always, it's uptime. If I'm in a private fleet, I want it all fixed right there on the spot. I don't want to be nickeled and dimed, but I want that truck to make it to its destination and back, and not have to tell them, well, you didn't tell me to look at this.
At minimum, be made aware. Make the customer aware of it.
Give them a chance to say yes or no to it. Yeah. Couple questions.
Yeah, and we don't let anything with lights go. I'm sorry.
No,
anything with a light out has to be fixed.
Exactly.
Couple questions to wrap up here. First, from Chuck, does full-bake cloud-based system allow for tech in the field to create invoices and close them without office interaction? Yes, it's permission-based, but you can give techs in the field the ability to do that without having to interact with the office, all the way to taking payments. And then last question we'll be able to cover here. This one's for you, Troy. Do you have any other recommendations for shops dealing with the situation?
I think, keeping your employees healthy, passing on that information to your customers and your vendors, and just, I learned so much just by calling around and talking to vendors and customers, what they're doing, and reiterating that safety, telling our employees, not only do you need to be safe at work, wash your hands, do the social distancing thing, you have to do it at home. You need to teach your family that at home, everything that you can possibly do to keep yourself healthy for as long as you possibly can is going to benefit your family, yourself, your work family, clear to the customers. If we all had to close for weeks at a time, I think we would probably go out of business. Our customers still need help. They're gonna go somewhere else. So I stress every few days. I do the speech every few days. We get outside in a big, huge circle, and we talk about being safe, staying clean. We ask about the health of everybody and the health of their families, and because we are genuinely concerned. And I think that goes a long, long ways. Especially when customers see us doing that, we ask and inquire about the customers and vendors too. And then just like in that earlier slide, we are running a business. We just need to kind of, other than that, business is normal, and provide your service and work hard.
Awesome. Thank you, Troy.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks so much for joining, for your great insight. Thanks to everybody for joining the webinar. This will be sent out as a recording. If you want it, if the questions we weren't able to get to, we will follow up with directly right after the webinar. Thank you for attending, and stay safe out there, stay healthy. Best of luck, and we'll talk to you soon.